Welcome to the Collaborative. I'm your host, Sydnee Walker, along with Ryan Ballis. Today, we are joined by Lauren Walsh and Jason Buckner. Walsh is the founder of LW Branding, a branding and marketing agency. She has worked with a wide array of internationally known entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and on-air talent, as well as NFL, NBA, and MLB players. Buckner is the director of draft scouting for the Detroit Pistons. He previously served as the manager of scouting and regional scout for the Indiana Pacers and is known to have an expertise in getting background on prospects. Thank you guys for being here. Super excited.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So first up, we have Sid's This or That Fall Edition. So first up, apple pie or pumpkin pie?
Apple.
Apple.
Good choice. Apple pie all day for me as well.
Especially those apple pies at McDonald's.
Oh yeah, those are the best.
Fire.
Scary movie or haunted house?
For me, it's neither. I can't do any of the scary.
I'm a scary movie. Scary movie. I get a little freaked out when they start like leaping at you. I kind of react.
What's your favorite scary movie?
What's my favorite scary movie? Is it the? I honestly, I probably don't love them enough to have like a favorite one, but I would do the scary movie over doing haunted house.
All right. Hayride or corn maze?
Ooh, hayride.
Yeah, hayride.
I'm with you on that one. And last but not least, the most important one, candy corn or candy apple?
I'm gonna go candy apple.
I'm candy corn. Candy corn.
I'm candy corn.
Opposites attract, you see.
I love it.
So thank you all for both joining us. We really appreciate it. And just to kind of get us started off, I'll throw you a little softball one. But can you kind of talk to us about how you got involved in the sports industry and really why?
Yeah. So I cheered at Purdue first, and then after I graduated, I worked for the football team. So I was a mentor for a few of the student athletes, and I began to get to know the individuals that I was working with. And honestly, asking them questions about life outside of football is when the light bulb went off for me. So I'd ask them questions about, what do you like to do? What are the things that make you unique off the football field? And what do you want to do with your life? Let's say you make it to the NFL and you have a great career. What are you going to do whenever the day comes that you retire? They did not have an answer for me simply because of the fact no one had ever asked them those questions before. So I started to realize that there was something there and I had a passion for it. I thought to myself, there has to be a way to help these individuals understand that the things that make them unique and special outside of football are what are actually going to help them go very far in life, not just in sports. So I did that for a couple of years. Always had it in the back of my mind. I left that and worked in corporate America for a couple of years. And when I decided to start my own company, I really thought back to that opportunity and said, you know what, I'm going to go off and try to start almost a glorified mentoring program and figure out a way to really help these athletes understand what it means to have a personal brand and then how to take that, monetize it, and allow that to be the legacy that they eventually leave behind.
I started off, I grew up around the NBA. My dad was a player and a former coach, and a former coach in the NBA, and a broadcaster. And so, I always grew up in sports. I played through high school, but even when I was playing as a youngster, I always had an interest in like the front office and kind of what goes on during the off season. I would fast forward through the seasons when I played video games just to get to the portion where I was recruiting, if it was a college, game, or picking up free agents and doing trades and things like that. If it was a pro game. So that's something I always kind of reveled in and had an idea that would be the direction I would go, the path I would take if God granted me some opportunities. And then started off as a manager in college at Indiana University, working for Coach Bobby Knight, And then when he left the university, I started working in the athletic department. So I did some fundraising, did some corporate sponsorship. That was kind of my path. Probably my first few years out of college, working for the University of Louisville, then worked for Learfield Sports. And I just got to a point as I was getting to my late 20s where I was like, I just don't feel like this is, I'm passionate about this as the guys who I thought were really excelling in that space. And I kind of thought back to a time that I really enjoyed what I was doing and I could do it all night long. And I would do it for free. And for me, that was when I was a manager and I was staying up all night cutting film. And I was like, I want to get back into that space. So got an opportunity with IUPUI, which for the uninitiated is Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, otherwise known as Ooey Pooey during tournament time. And then got hired from the Indiana Pacers from there. So that's what it was for me. It was really just kind of following my passion. And that is also, we always talk about purpose involved in that. And for me, it's just a way for me to kind of give back everything I've learned from being around the game my entire life.
Both incredible stories. Thanks so much for sharing. I think biggest takeaway is follow your passions from that one. So thanks for sharing, guys.
Lauren, you're very transparent on social media and often share the highs and lows with your followers. How did you learn to balance all the responsibilities that come with owning your own company and dealing with high-profile clients?
And I think I like to call it the perfect imbalance, because I don't think that I don't necessarily think that there is a balance, and I never want to give the misconception that there is. I do believe you can have it all, but it has to be at different points in your life. So I think when it comes to figuring out how to do it, it goes back to exactly what Ryan just said. I mean, it goes to passion. Like I'm going to be honest, and one of the reasons I'm very transparent is because I remember starting out. So this was in January, it'll be 7 years that I had walked away from corporate America and started my company. And I remember looking around at the people I was surrounded by or looking on social media, and I didn't see a lot of people talking about the adversity that they had to overcome, or I didn't see people talking about how hard it was to actually start their company. I looked at all these agents and athletes and people working in marketing, and I saw a bunch of people that just showed the fancy cars and the cool parties and all these things that they had going on. And I then, when I went through the process, was like, what the heck? I feel like I was duped here. Like, this was so hard to get to the point that that I'm at now. I always joke, I mean, I'm going on 7 years. I think it took me like 5 to 6 years to figure out what I was doing, and I'm still learning every day. But that's where the transparency piece came in, because I never wanted another person to look at me and want the things that I had, but not know what it really took to get there. But I also, on the other end, wanted people to know I'm not anyone that comes from a sports background. I didn't have a lot of connections when I decided to go and start my company. And so also having that, where I decided just to jump in with 2 feet, was a big part of it. I think that also works in my favor, because I got into this industry for the right reasons. And you have to. I didn't get into it because I wanted to go to parties with NBA players. I didn't get into it because I wanted to be surrounded by these people making all this crazy money and be driving in their cars or going on their planes. I literally got into it because, thinking back to college, when I had a passion for helping athletes figure out what it is that makes them unique, and then figure out how to allow that to then become their personal brand, and then how to develop a legacy off of that. So I think that's where, kind of the balance comes in, is that it makes it very easy. Honestly, we laugh all the time, because I'll get off of a very high level strategy call with a brand, or I'll be on the phone or texting with one of my clients, most these days of which are very, very well-known professional athletes. And then I will very easily just roll right into bedtime, which includes bottles and diapers and bath time in the whole 9 yards. And I think it's so funny, because I'm like, man, 10 minutes ago, I was dealing with this, super high level thing. And now I'm over here just, making a bottle for the baby. But I think that's, again, it goes back to the passion. For me, it's about how to find, I guess, kind of the beauty and the passion in each moment, as opposed to always thinking about the highs or the lows, and also rolling with the lows. I think that's one thing I've learned over the years that I think if you work in sports, you have to get good at, is not allowing the pendulum to swing too far. You have to figure out whether it's a high or a low, how to be able to stay in that present moment and figure out just to hold your composure, get through that moment, but also enjoy it, because you can also go through, a huge event or something that you put together, and all of a sudden, like this, it's over and you forget and you're on to the next thing, which is very much in sports. So I think it's just figuring out how to find that balance in every single thing, and always going back to that passion and reminding yourself why you started there in the first place.
I love everything you said, and I think a lot of people can be deceived by those misconceptions. So it's very important that you're willing to showcase that as well.
Jason, so in your current role right now, what does your everyday, kind of your average day kind of look like?
Well, that's part of it. There really is no average day. Every day kind of entails something different, depending on the time of year, and what's kind of gotten handed down to me, and what I'm pushing down myself to my crew. I'd say that if I'm coming out of a day, getting on the phones, getting intel and information, not just on first, who the players are, right? So I'm talking to trainers, I'm talking to agents, I'm talking to scouts, various people in the industry, shoe company people, saying, hey, what are you hearing on the street? What are you seeing with your eyes? Who do I need to be paying attention to? And then it's the other part where I'm actually getting intel and information on them. How hard do they work? Who's in their inner circle? Who do they listen to? Who do they not listen to? How do they learn? I mean, there's so many, I got a 3 pages back-to-back single space of questions that, I like to get answered on every player. And, we'll contact probably 8 to 10 people that surround each player that we're zeroed in on. And that's usually anywhere from, 80 to 110 players a year. So that's a big part of it. And the other part of it is the actual film work of watching the games, whether that be things that they're doing in the summer, if that's summer league, or maybe it's a Nike event or their national team, things like that, as well as, the work that they do playing for their high school teams or playing for their college teams. So that is pretty much, what we're doing every day.
Lauren, with you being a female in a male-dominated industry, and Jason, you being a Black male working in the front office, how have the both of you dealt with any adversity that comes with those narratives?
I think for me, it happens every day. I think that these days we see there's definitely more females in the industry. I love to see all the females that are here on this Zoom right now. But the reality is that we still have a long way to go. I noticed it in the beginning. I will say I have a background working in male-dominated industries. One of my, jobs out of college, outside of mentoring, I worked on the trading floor at the Chicago Board of Trade. I was training to be a stockbroker, and I was actually the only girl who worked in the trading pit that I was in. So I saw it back then, and I just committed at that point in time never to allow it to be something that was going to hold me back. If anything, I'll be honest, I use it as a way to allow me to propel forward. There are things about being a female in the industry that actually give me a leg up. The fact that I can be empathetic actually allows my clients to really lean into me and come tell me things that I know that they are not telling their agents. Specifically, I've had clients who've come to me and said, look, my agent just doesn't get it. Do you mind if I come talk to you about this? Which allows me to develop a deeper relationship, which allows me to do my job better. There's also the reality of a lot of athletes were raised by their mothers or their moms, or a female, their mom or their grandma. A female was the trusted individual in their life when they were growing up. So they also look at females in a different way in terms of that, that trustworthiness and someone that they're going to go to. So I think for me, it's focusing less on the fact that, yes, there are more males. Like, we get it. Like, we know that is the reality. It's figuring out, how can I, number one, just accept it? And then number two, how can I use it in my favor? And then also it's just being really, really good at my job. I think that's another thing too. I've focused on how can I continue to get better so that no one says, oh, wow, Lauren's really good at, she's a really good female in the industry. No, I just like to be known as someone who's really good at my job in the industry, regardless of my gender.
I think, everything that Lauren said in a lot of ways is similar in the fact that I never let it necessarily stand in my way. I think sometimes I will lean into it, I guess similarly is like Lauren said, like I will, kind of target other young African-American mentors, in the field. There's a couple groups that I'm a part of as far as mentorship and partnering in to exchange information. And that's been greatly beneficial to me. Other than that, like, I think having bonds with other people that are going through it helps you, that sometimes you're not crazy and paranoid when you think some of those barriers are in the way, kind of just affirming maybe some of the things that you're going through, and then also giving you different strategies to work your way around it and over it. And I think that'd probably be the top advice I would say is making sure, like similar group like this, like make sure you have a peer group that you constantly lean on and that you feed back into, so that you kind of support each other as you guys are kind of working yourself through the industry. And that's probably been the biggest thing that's helped me through it.
I love how both of you use that to your advantage. So thank you for sharing that.
Lauren, I know you mentioned earlier a couple questions ago, you really have this true passion. You pop from one high stakes phone call to, prepping a bottle for the baby. But how do you guys break down that work-life balance? Like, what are some things you do to like truly relax? Like, hey, no sports today. Like, what are some things you do to kind of break up that work-life balance in such a really like go industry?
I think we should preface, just in case people don't know, we're married. So I think also just so people don't, and just in case, in case people are wondering why we're sitting here next to each other. He asked me before, he's like, so are we going to sit in separate rooms? Are we doing this together? Like, what are we doing? So preface with that.
Because there's really not a space. You see, I'm trying to like squeeze myself into the screen here.
You know what I think? I think what we do is I think we just blend it really, really well. I will say there are times where we make a point to disconnect depending on what type of the year it is, depending on what it is. But I think another thing is figuring out how can we blend our lives in the best way possible that we are constantly supporting each other so that we also don't feel like we have to have a break. I think sometimes it's very easy to go a million miles an hour and then feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so burnt out and now I have to totally cut things off. I think the good thing is that we love what we do. So, even Jason he had a little bit of a break these last couple of weeks, but even then he's watching games and wants to keep up on things simply just because he has a passion for it, and I think the same goes for me. But we also figure out a way, I think, just to support the things that we each love outside of our jobs. Like yesterday was a great example. Jason took the kids to one of his friends' houses. So he got to go do something that he loves and go visit with a friend. But then I got to have time by myself, to meditate and read and just relax and do the things that fill me up. And then he gets to do the same. And so we really try to figure that out.
Netflix.
He's obsessed with Netflix.
You got any recent recommendations?
I knew she wouldn't like the answer because I know she doesn't like that answer, but that's it. I like, I'll binge occasionally whenever I can get around her to do it. But
that's what I'm talking about. Hey, sometimes you just need a good little veg sesh and just sit in front of the TV for 10 hours.
I just want to veg for a little bit. But
hey, I hear you.
But I think to the point is the balance of that kind of like vegging out, and then what kind of productive stuff you can do to unplug. So, whether it's meditation, I like cycling. meditation's Lauren's thing. She does yoga. I'm really big into getting on my bike or going running. Just trying to watch some sports for fun is something I enjoy doing. So, there's other things, reading, both of us, we'll dive into, she reads a bunch of books, I'll read the Bible. So we both do a variety of things that we can to try to, unplug a little bit.
Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your very busy schedules, I imagine, to come and speak with us. All your words have been so amazing, and your advice has been impeccable. So thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Lauren and Jason.
Love it.
The first time we had a duo on, it was so much fun, and you guys provided so much valuable insight that I'm sure all of us can take with us. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you guys. Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.